just basic principles or guidelines for helping countries to grow. Can you exactly show where Rwanda is actually needing to work more?
Well, first and foremost, African youth need to realize their potential by understanding their environment, by understanding the fact that to be an Elon Musk or to be Mark Zuckerberg or one of these big successful operators within the technology sphere, it's not the government that starts it. It's the youth themselves who start it. They start with innovative ideas and they get cracking on those innovative ideas. And if successfully proven, then they can go out and seek partnerships, etc., within the framework of their ideas. So the basic message that I was trying to put forward today was that the youth have to stand up and start thinking outside the box. It's not the responsibility of government only to provide the solutions. The youth can also use the private sector, they can use all sorts of different actors and approaches to provide those solutions for the development of the country, for the development of the communities, and for their own development. The first thing that one has to see is you need to develop yourselves personally, you need to develop yourselves as youth, and basically nurture the potential that you have to make sure that the ideas that are nurturing out of institutions, etc., are brought to reality. Currently, we are expecting government to do everything, but government is just one of the players in this whole ecosystem of innovation. And looking at the SDGs, and on your question, yes, the youth constituting more than 60% of Rwanda's population have a key role to play in addressing all the SDGs. And as you know, all the SDGs are interlinked in some way. So if you're addressing issues of poverty, you're also addressing issues of inclusion in education, you're also addressing issues of health, you're addressing issues of gender, education, and so on. So all the SDGs are actually quite interlinked, and addressing one necessarily means having multiplier effects to address most of the other SDGs.
Which areas do you look at Rwanda more because when we looked at what the representative from GIZ said about job creation, we're actually outperforming below the minimum. And we need the data to actually analyze and say, are we actually creating jobs? Which other areas do you think as UNDP, as people who are leading this agenda?
Well, job creation is a subject, and it's a function of the structure of the economy. Right now, we have an agriculture sector which is absorbing most of our labor force. And what we need to do is to look beyond and think beyond agriculture and say, how is it that the private sector can come into play and create the necessary jobs? The other issue is on education. If you are trained to become an employee and there are no jobs out there, then we end up having a situation where we have a lot of unemployed youth. But if the education system is designed to empower you, to create your own opportunities, to create your own jobs, then I see a situation in which the innovation that we are doing with this forum here will go a long way in providing the necessary feedback mechanisms that will then help create jobs. Right now, the government cannot absorb all of us in terms of jobs. So we have to look at the next viable option, which is the private sector. The private sector has to grow. And the government's role there is to facilitate that growth of the private sector. And then the private sector will, by extension, extend the jobs to the youth that are basically sitting out there without a job. So how do we facilitate the private sector to create more jobs? Perhaps we could have incentive structures that look at the tax policy, looks at the investment code, and see how we can better develop the private sector. The other sector that can actually play a direct role in boosting up private sector participation in the economy is the whole issue of financing, or how to have access to sustainable finance that is going to then be the key growth driver in the economy. So financing at the moment, we have financing systems that are probably designed not to expedite that growth. As you know, I think the World Bank had mentioned that about 80% of all business operations in the country are informal. And out of that, 92% are actually in the micro sector, which means they're employing less than 3 people. We need to change that formula. We need to start formalizing businesses. We need to start building a middle class that will be able to generate demand in the economy. And demand, once the demand is there, then you actually stimulate the economy to start producing more. And that stimulus is actually the key for private sector growth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On va parler en français?
Non, je ne parle pas.